Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Adri Shifatul. I'm presentation narrative text. One review of the explanation of narrative text and descriptive text. Review of the explanation of narrative text and descriptive text. In the narrative text chapter, I understand that narrative text serves as a medium of entertainment for listeners, and I understand that narratives have their own characteristics and meanings. An example of narrative text is Dewi the goddess of rice. In the story, the following elements or structures are found. 1. Orientation. In this orientation, I understand that narrative texts have paragraphs that aim to introduce character in the story, the time in the story, and the place and location in the story. 2. Complication. I realized that in the story of Dewi there are problems, and in every story other than Dewi there are always a complication or problems. That is what make narrative stories such as Malin Kundang, Dayang Sumbi, Sangkuriang, and other legends so enjoyable. Therefore, I realized that if both structure, namely complication, are removed, narrative texts feel empty and cannot be called narrative text because they are not a medium of entertainment. Therefore, complications are also the most important part of narrative text. 3. Resolution. I realized that every complication must have a solution. Therefore, it would be unfortunate if a narrative text only contained conflict without problem solving. Resolution is also very important for a narrative text as it aims to reveal or resolve a problem in a conflict or debate. For example, in the story of Dewi Sri, the goddess of rice, Dewi Sri has subsided, I forgive you, but you should always ask for permission first and not act as punishment. I will never come to heaven, the place where the gods live. I have your letter. Enjoy the bit of the delicious. Don't kill the animals of the guys in the story. You worked very hard before, and the reason is to make friends at the right time. I will give you a silver heaven by driving flowers for my heaven. The followers will cost or pointing have come. Thank you. That is an example of resolution or problem solving for the narrative text of the Wisru, the goddess of rice. For coda or resolution, this reorientation is the conclusion, wherein the coda contains a summary that concludes the narrative text. It is optional, cause not every narrative text must have this section. 5. Example of narrative text. 1. Malin Kundang from Sumatra. 2. Sangkudang from Java. 3. Dewi Padi from Java. 4. Dayan Sumbi from Java. 5. Nyoro Kidul from Java. All of these are entertainment from encasers of stories passed down by word of mouth, and the explanation or truth of these stories are not necessarily accurate. B. Features of narrative text linear. Narrative text must also have linear features that are useful for readers to distinguish between words of sentences as follows. A description of characters. The description here is to explain who the characters are in this narrative text. It also explains their trait or character. Example, Devi is a very beautiful goddess who is radiant as the full moon. Here every step brings life, and here every smile gives hope. to all of humanity. This description shows that the history is not just a mythological character but also a spiritual symbol who teaches humans about the importance of respecting nature. P. Use of the past tense. Narrative text almost always tell stories about the past. Therefore, the linguistic structure is dominated by past tense in Indonesian. This characteristic can be seen in the use of words that are commonly placed at the beginning of a sentence. Example, in ancient times, one day, long ago, in the past. Example story, long ago on the island of Java, there were no rice plants. The inhabitants of the earth only grew cassava for daily food. Rice was only allowed to be grown in heaven. At that time, rice was the food of the god. The above example confirms that the story of Devasri is a legend that has long lived in the tradition of the Indonesian people. The use of the past tense gives a historical and sacred impression to the story that has been passed down from generation to generation. C. Use of noun phrases. Noun phrases or combination of nouns and adjectives make the story richer, more beautiful, and more imaginative. In the story of Devisri, noun phrases are often used to describe the beauty of the heavenly realm and sacred objects associated with Devisri. Example story: the story of the aroma of fragrant rice made the young man's mouth water because it looked so delicious. Seeing the water in the rice, the young man planted the rice exactly as he had learned in heaven. The aroma of fragrant rice and the way of planting rice exactly as he had learned described. See descriptive text. 1. Definition of descriptive text. Descriptive text is text that describe people, animals, or anything else in detail. Its purpose is to enable a clear understanding of a text or sentence. Descriptive text also has several main purposes, including a. A. Providing specific information. In descriptive text, the information or sentence that will be described or explained is always specific information or clearly describes a person, place, or object. This is so that descriptive text explain people, objects, or place so that readers can recognize or know information. Where the